Greetings. Welcome back, everybody. Please, before I start, all those little buttons below, like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff, please hit them. It helps me grow the channel. Um, Earlier this week, actually yesterday, I can't believe it's only been a day, Mario Cristobal goes and hires a new defensive coordinator. First off, I was a little surprised at how quick it was because this OC hire has dragged on a bit. Still waiting to see what happens there. But earlier this week, the Miami Hurricanes have hired a new defensive coordinator, and it's not any of the names we thought. Shocker. This shouldn't surprise us one bit. This is how Mario operates. A lot of fake news gets leaked or, a lot of rumors, but he does his own research. He does his own due diligence, and he's going to go after a guy that he thinks is the right fit for this program. And I, like many of you, heard the name Lance Guidry and was like, who's that? He was hired by Tulane earlier this year, and he was there for about 5 minutes before Miami scooped him up. Was the defensive coordinator at Marshall for a couple of years and spent some time at other stops. He was head coach at McNeese State at the FCS level. And, I don't have all the other stops in front of me, but he's coached at many different places, either in the FCS or at the group of 5 level. So initially I'm like, Mario goes with a relatively unknown name. Did my research on him. And I wanted to give it a day to marinate because I don't want to give my initial reaction. A lot of people came on and gave their initial reaction, and shout out to all those people. Flo, the Maxed Out Show, who you name it, Dono on Locked On Canes, everybody went on and gave their initial reaction. I wanted to kind of sit back and all great. I listened to all of them yesterday and today, all great stuff. I wanted to sit back and kind of let it marinate a bit, let it sit, and kind of give my opinion on it a day later. And let me tell you, I was a little nervous and I was a little like, man, the fans are going to hate this one. But the more research I did, the more I kind of sat on it, the more I thought about it, the more I like the hire. And that continues into today. The more I hear about the guy, the more I, research, and, the more content I watch and stuff, the more like the amount I like this hire continues to grow, basically, is what I'm trying to say. There are pros and cons to the hire. I'll start with the negative stuff first. The cons. Yes, he does not have really any Power 5 coaching experience at all to speak of. He's, like I said, he's coached mainly at the FCS and the group of 5 level. But you can point to the fact that, he's coached against, dominated lesser opponents. Well, not really, because his team, in this case, his most recent stop, Marshall, they don't really have, for the most part, Power 5 talent. They don't have Power 5 resources. So yeah, he's, crushing group of 5 teams, but he has group of 5 talent on his team. So you got to look at it both ways. And it depends how you look at it or how you choose to look at it. Some people want to complain just to complain. Well, he hasn't done it. He hasn't done it, under the bright lights. He hasn't done it in big boy football, so to speak. Yeah, but he hasn't had big boy resources. Now he will. So it depends how you choose to look at it. Now, what's going to determine his success, I think, is a couple different things that we won't know until we see the defense step on the field. Number one is how quickly is it going to be able to install this new defense, because this defense is very different. It's kind of exotic. It's more aggressive than I initially thought. I thought he was a guy that didn't blitz too much. I was wrong. The more I looked up, and I was like, oh, wow, okay, he does like to get after the quarterback. He does like to send extra dudes in there, which I like. I like a defensive coordinator that pressures the quarterback into bad throws, and he loves to do that. And I'm not going to reel off the stats, but we've heard them all. Yes, his Marshall defense last year was top 10 nationally in basically every major category. The biggest one being third down defense, number 1 nationally. Where were we? We were like 97th or 98th, something like that. It was pretty bad. We were damn near dead last. We couldn't stop anybody on third down. We got the best one in the business last year at stopping third down. Stop rate was either, I think, second or sixth in the nation. I think overall total defense last year, Marshall was sixth nationally. Top 10 defense. Where were we? We were not top 10. We were far from it. I think Miami's defense last year was dead last or number one, however you want to look at it, at giving up plays of more than 40 yards. I don't think anybody in the country gave up more than us. So our propensity to give up big back-breaking plays, especially early in games that kind of took us out of it, was like all-time bad. It wasn't mediocre. It wasn't meh. It was bad, like awful, like worst in history. I've never seen, even on mediocre 7-6 Canes teams, I've never seen a defense allow so many huge plays for touchdowns, just time after time after time. It was like once per game that it happened. And if you go back and look at, what was the difference in the game, in a lot of the games we lost, the North Carolina game, for example, probably came down to that bomb for a touchdown. The FSU game, yes, we got our asses kicked. But how did that game start? Bomb, touchdown. We were basically out of it after that. Middle Tennessee hit us 2 or 3 times, I think. That took us out of it. So it can't get any worse than what we had last year, honestly. Now, again, the cons, he doesn't have really any Power 5 experience. But really, I mean, we'll see if he's prepared for the bright lights and if he's ready for like the big show of the Power 5, playing against teams like Clemson, playing against teams like Florida State, North Carolina. We'll see if he's ready for that. We'll find out come game time, come the week of that game. And also, is it a personality fit? Are players going to like him? Are players going to like playing for him? Are they going to play hard for him? We all saw the little video of him at Western Kentucky that went viral. Got me excited. Was it a little corny? Sure. But hey, it also fired me up. If it fires up the boys, then let's go. I like that he has energy. He's 51 years old, so he's not super young, but he's not old either. He's kind of in the prime of his coaching career. He's like right there. He's in it. And the man has gotten results. Like I just said, he's gotten his defense was ranked, tops nationally in a lot of different categories. So he does get results against the best offenses in the group of 5. He shut them down. He'll hold them to 20 points, 14 points, 12 points when they're averaging like 38, 40 points. So it brings a question. Would you rather have the big name, or would you rather have a guy who's maybe not so big of a name come in, but he's an X's and O's expert? And once the players adapt to what he's doing and his new scheme, it causes fits for opposing offenses. Yeah, give me that guy. And there's different reasons. Here are the pros. He's proven it, although at a different class of college football, the guy's gotten results. That Marshall defense is in all likelihood sending guys to the NFL. And if they adapted to it that quickly, if they went from, I don't know where they were ranked before he got there, but I know it was very low. I don't know the number off the top of my head, but if he can get them to that in a couple of years, that means player development is there as well. That's something we've lacked in. And is he a good recruiter? Well, again, that remains to be seen. But if he passed Mario's test and Mario was willing to hire him, he must be at least a good recruiter or have really, really good work ethic in general. And he sees that as being adaptable to the recruiting trail. So what do I think? Honestly, I like the hire for the most part. I'm cautiously optimistic. Let's see if this pans out, because if it does, I think this is very intelligent on Mario's part. Going for a more under-the-radar hire, a guy who's an X's and O's genius. Bring me that guy. You're probably not going to have to pay him $2 million a year like you would a big name. And also, if you bring him here and he's successful, that's a guy you can hang on to for the next 3, 4, 5 years. Brent Venables, I looked this up earlier. He started at Clemson as the DC back in 2012. Can you imagine having that kind of stability, having that kind of continuity? Now, towards the end, they had to pay Venables quite a bit to stick around as long as he did. And I'm not saying Mario's Dabo or whatever, I'm not saying any of that, but what if you have a similar situation where he grows with this team starts winning, And it's a nice, secure job for him where he could stick around 4 or 5 years. You have continuity. Continuity is something we haven't had. We're changing out our coordinators pretty often. I don't want that anymore. I want a guy that's going to stick around for a few years. Because let me tell you, an aggressive defense like this, that's, it's like a multiple look kind of defense, base 4-2-5, but you run multiple looks from it. It looks pretty exotic at times. I would love, and it caters to a defense that's got some speed and athleticism. And that's another thing I like about this guy. He can adapt to what he has. We didn't have that with either coordinator last year. We spent all this money on these big names, and what? It led to nothing. If this dude is brilliant with the scheming, if he could scheme up exotic blitzes and give the other offense fits, he can go up against a guy like Drake May and really cause some confusion, cause some turnovers. Sign me up. On the other side of the coin, the offensive coordinator, this has been brought up in different videos and podcasts and stuff. I'll ask you guys, do you want to balance it out with hiring a big name on the offensive side? Would that make a difference? Or would you be okay if Mario goes to the group of 5, which is where a lot of these coaches start, by the way, go to the group of 5 and get a guy that's another X's and O's genius and can adapt to what TVD can do, can adapt to this running game, he can scheme guys open. As long as I have that, I'm good. I don't need the huge name. I don't need to shell out a boatload of money really to have a 1-year rental. Because if you bring in a guy, the more I think about it, if you bring in a guy like Scott Frost, I won't be mad. I've said I would want him. We could have an explosive offense very quickly. But if you bring in a guy like Scott Frost, let's say, or if you brought in a guy like Tommy Rees, which were 2 of my favorites, the pro is, yeah, you might see a big jump year 1 offensively, kind of like when Rhett Lashley first came in. But the con to that is they're a 1-year rental in all likelihood. If they do well, which is what we want, they're going to get a head coaching job somewhere else. And then you got to look for a new coordinator. I think what Mario wants is stability. And I get what he's doing. And again, it does make me a little nervous, the lack of Power 5 experience. But again, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Is it a personality fit? Will the players like him? Will the players like playing for him? Is the moment going to be too big for him? Can he adapt to what he has with this team, with the new incoming transfers and new incoming freshmen? How is he going to use those guys? All of that remains to be seen. But I am cautiously optimistic about this hire. As for the OC hire, I'm not sure when that's going to happen. It could be announced tomorrow. It could be announced next week. I just hope something is announced before spring. Real quick, the Antoine Jackson situation. Look, if he wants out, he wants out. I don't want anybody that doesn't want to be here. So I wish him the best. Wherever he ends up landing, let's keep in mind the young man is only 16 years old, so he's up on him. I heard the backlash on Twitter was pretty bad. I'm not on Twitter anymore, so I can't speak to that. But come on, guys. He's a kid. Let him make his own decisions. I would rather he do this now than a year into the season he's causing issues in the locker room, and I don't want that. If you don't want to be here, don't be here. That's my attitude towards it. So wish the kid the best. And this gives time for Mario to find a guy in the portal. It frees up a roster spot for, maybe another position. Honestly, Antoine Jackson coming in so young, he probably wasn't going to play this year anyways, let's be honest. So, let's see what happens there. Let's see what else. Oh, and I wanted to cover this real quick. A lot of people got a little nervous about, what's going to happen with Charlie Strong, what's going to happen with DVD. A lot of people were mad. Hey, why wasn't Charlie Strong hired? Look, we don't know if Charlie Strong was offered the job and he turned it down. Honestly, we don't know what happened behind the scenes. We don't know what conversations Cristobal had with Charlie Strong. Or, I've heard rumors Strong flirting with other teams, i.e. Alabama. And Kevin Steele just went there. So we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen with Coach Strong. I'm a Charlie Strong fan. I hope he sticks around the program. But, a guy of that caliber sticking around as a linebacker coach, I knew just like Steele when he first came in, it's probably a 1 or 2 year rental with those guys. As for DVD, again, elite recruiter. Hope he sticks around. But keep this in mind, guys. There are other elite recruiters out there. There are other elite recruiters on the staff. He's not the only one. So don't panic if an analyst or a guy that we all want to be the cornerbacks coach ends up leaving for greener pastures. It happens. It's the coaching carousel. The average coach sticks around a couple of years and then they're gone. They move on to something else. So don't get attached to a position coach, to an analyst, to an assistant coach. They're going to, every few years, they're going to constantly be switched out. They're going to find a new job. They're going to get fired. It's constantly changing. It's very fluid. Okay. And don't panic if he's gone, because that doesn't mean, oh, Miami's not going to land any more 5 stars. No. Here's the thing. If you want Miami to land 5 stars in the future, like for the foreseeable future, and you want that to be a sustainable thing, the only way you make that sustainable is you start winning football games, not by keeping some coach that landed a few 5 stars. No. The secret to keeping this going is winning football games. Particularly winning the games you should be winning. I'm not saying we got to go upset Clemson this year, but show me improvement. Start winning football games. Get to some, get into a bowl game, do well in some high profile games and get people's attention. That's what's going to keep this train moving recruiting wise. Anyway, that's all for me. Please, again, hit subscribe, share, tell your friends. As always, go Canes.